Hello and welcome back. I do apologize for taking so long. I have had just a lot of series of unfortunate events that kept pushing this further, but hey, today is International Women's Day, so why not just close it out with just the remainder videos for the characteristics of eating disorders with a little bonus feature at the end. So once again, my name is Cynthia Eddings. I am your MFT for the soul, so thanks for tuning in. So let's just jump right into it. The eating disorder number 2 that we're going to talk about is bulimia nervosa, also known as just bulimia. All of those that have nervosa at the end, you're just going to drop that and call it by the first term. Bulimia nervosa, it actually has two parts to it. It has the binge eating portion and then the purging portion. The binge eating, that is, of course, just binging. You're just taking all sorts of food and you're just binging. We hear it a lot. Oh, I'm just going on the binger. I'm binging. Yeah, people just throw that term out there, but it totally means something different in this context, of course. So, and then the purging, of course, is the second half of just pretty much vomiting, throwing it up. So here, point one, they're normally eating usually a large amount of food in a short period of time. So it's pretty much like in a 2 hour span of what they say what a normal person will do or what someone in a similar situation is going to eat. So you might have a plate, portion control, and this person is eating this, and then another person is eating something that is more of an extreme amount. Just think of all these things on the extreme end of the spectrum. And so if you're in a eating contest, like that's no, it's like, oh, this is within a short period of time. No, that's not a consistent thing. And that's the other thing. You want to make sure there's something that is consistent. So that's the other thing. Number two, the person may eat very fast and they're not even hungry. Then they feel that their binging is just uncontrollable. So they have no control of it. They're just feeling the urge. They know they're not hungry. They already feel full, but yet they continue to go and just eat. Like there's just something just pulling on them, drawing them to continue to eat. And of course, by doing so, after they've already engaged in that type of behavior of just going ahead and eating and binging and purging, then they feel embarrassed, and then there's guilt, and then they're attempting to make that correction of the binge eating by purging. So I've eaten so much, I'm so full, I'm so uncomfortable. So what's going to help with that is I'm going to go and do self-induced purging, vomiting, and that'll help me get back down and make me feel better because that food is no longer in my system. But of course, as you know, with even the purging, that will cause issues. The sport, and a lot of people won't know about that until you go to the doctor, and because that's breaking away at your enamel. And so, doctors, I mean, your dentist is probably the first person to know if the person isn't talking about it, because as you see, there's a little secret stamp at the bottom. Because once again, it's something that is done in secret, and people aren't looking to go out there discussing their binge eating. And four, it is excessive exercising, and I say excessive, everything excessive, not just, oh, I just enjoy working out. This is good. No, you have a healthy relationship with your workout plan. Um, then there's the diet pills. You're always taking diet pills. You're taking water pills to kind of purge that weight. You're taking laxatives. Like, once again, excessive, excessive, excessive. So, okay. And another thing, and I say with a lot of these disorders, more like when they have already been diagnosed with eating disorder, they will be more than likely at an inpatient clinic to correct that. But when they are going in, it is always good to assess that individual for suicidal ideations, as well as or if they've had a history of suicide attempts. Because eating disorders, and I'm not sure if I even said this in the anorexia nervosa video, but eating disorders are like the highest, they have the highest mortality rate in, for death. So I don't even know if I've said that, but if I didn't, I apologize. But yes, thank you for joining me for number 2. We'll be moving on. Hi, and welcome back. We are now discussing eating disorder number 3, which is binge eating disorder. So the binge eating disorder can also sometimes be called compulsive overeating. Of course, because of what's happening during this stage, they're compulsively eating their food. So, what is the criteria to meet this type of diagnosis? So, one, they are eating until feeling uncomfortably full, which is the same as bulimia. So, you'll see some of the same things in this one that was also in the bulimia video. and they feel disgusted, depressed, of course, and even guilty about how much or what they've actually eaten during that time. And once again, suicidal, they're not all suicidal, I'm not going to say that, but individuals suffering from this disorder should also be assessed for suicidal ideations as well as a history of suicidal attempts. This also, with binge eating, it does not include the compensatory behaviors that we've talked about in anorexia, which was restricting your food, and in bulimia, because with that portion, there's the purging aspect. So with this one, there is no food restricting, there is no purging to rid yourself of the food that you've eating. You are just binging, and there's that. So within that, that leads me to the next one. It says they are often overweight, and that's why, because they're not restricting their food and they are not purging after. Which, and of course, with being overweight leads to other health conditions, mainly diabetes, heart disease, and also could be other things as well. And this eating disorder here, as well as the previous one with bulimia, the baseline is to occur at least once a week for a 3-month period. That is the baseline. And then we have the severity. So this is how they'll level or chart your severity level of having this disorder. If you're doing it mildly, or if it's a mild thing, 1 to 3 episodes a week. You're considered moderate if it's 4 to 7 episodes a week. Severe if it is 8 to 13. And you're extreme if you're doing it 14 plus times, or having 14 plus episodes in a week. All right, stay tuned. Okay, let's move right on into eating disorders 4 and 5, which are the other specified and unspecified feeding or eating disorders. So for characteristics of other specified, they're going to present with the feeding or eating characteristics, but yet they do not meet the full criteria. And that's going to be the baseline for each. They come in, they're presenting with features that would align with certain diagnoses of these eating disorders, but they do not meet the full criteria. So, for examples of the other specified designations, for atypical anorexia nervosa, excuse me, there is no significant weight loss or weight is within or above the normal range. That's just one designation of anorexia, is they've lost a significant weight of their body mass, or their weight is really low for what their height is set to be. We know everyone is not going to be the same, so there's a difference, but there's a whole other criteria that goes behind that. Bulimia nervosa. The binge eating and inappropriate compensatory behaviors, they occur on average, but yet they occur less frequently. And when I say less frequently, that goes back to the previous videos where the frequency had to be a minimum of 1 time a month, and for a consistent 3-month time period. Binge eating disorder, the binge eating occurs, once again, like I say, less frequent. Purging disorder, the recurrent purging behavior to influence your weight or shape without the binging. So, with no binging there. Night eating syndrome. Perked up, huh? Okay, so the night eating syndrome is a recurring episode as well. You see, there's a pattern. Everything is recurring. If you only do this thing occasionally, or when you're sad, you've had a breakup, you're going through something, you're emotional, your cycle is on, you just want a big tub of, ice cream, totally different. So it's not a recurrent and ongoing thing. But there we go. You're eating after waking up, or by an excessive consumption of food after the evening meal. And keyword here, it causes significant distress or impairment. If you just enjoy your food and you're like, I feel nothing about it, then we're not talking about you. So, unspecified feeding. So, see, very quick. We're going to get on through this one. So, the behavior causes a clinical significant amount of distress or impairment of functions, but they do not, once again, meet the full criteria of any of the eating or feeding disorders. Let's see. So, when I'm talking about distress and impairment, that's like, let's say, in your social life, in your family, your relationships, you're avoiding different places. That's what we're talking about when it's causing distress. Like, you're finding yourself avoiding going certain places, eating certain places, being in certain situations. That's what I'm talking about there. And the last one, and it could also be used when the clinician just chooses not to specify the reason, or if there's not a significant amount of evidence to provide a specific diagnosis. So more evidence is needed, may or may not. But at this time, they're going to choose to kind of characterize that as an unspecified feeding or eating disorder until they have further information to go on. Okay, so now we're going to close in on the finale. See you soon. Okay, so here we go. As you can see, my video is not here because some reason my computer is not allowing me to be great, because it's saying my camera is in use elsewhere when it is not, but they know better, huh? Anyway, this is how I'm going to close it out. So with this camera and spending time, we're trying to figure out where this camera is saying it's being used. I said, let's just go. Hopefully my voice comes through clearly and that you'll be able to hear me. So let's talk about avoiding and restrictive food intake disorder. So this is a struggle with eating and you're not eating enough to maintain a healthy weight. And with this, I also want to say that this person is not considered anorexic or bulimic. This individual would have a difficulty digesting certain foods. They will avoid certain foods, colors, or even textures of food. They're only eating very small portions. They have no appetite. And they're afraid to eat because they've had some type of frightening event or traumatic event, as some people will call it, because they ate something and they choked, or they ate something and it caused them to vomit. Now, with having no appetite, they're not getting the proper nutrients that you need. We have to eat certain food to get the certain nutrients. And with this type of disorder, most individuals, they have to take different supplements. So you have to find supplements to supplement the nutritions that they aren't receiving. Now, here's a caveat. This is not about lacking certain foods or have a lack of certain foods. Say you can't afford it, or it's not available where you are, or if you have certain cultural practices, or if there are other medical or mental disorders or diagnoses that will speak to like other things. This will not be about you. But hey, it's still great information. Now, moving on, this is the one that I believe out of all kind of intrigued me the most. This is not included in the DSM-5, which is where people, with professionals like myself, they actually get the diagnosis for mental disorders. So it is the Diagnostic Statistical Manual 5. We are on version number 5. So this is not in it. But what it is a form of disordered eating. And disordered eating, if you remember from I believe one of my first videos, I spoke about disordered eating because that is where a population that I choose to work with, because it discusses the relationship that people have with food. So this is a big area here. And I just thought that this was so interesting and interesting enough that I wanted to share it with you all. So it's characterized by extreme obsessions with consuming only the foods that are perceived as healthy and pure. So those are two keys as well. And perceived, healthy, pure. This was actually first described back in 1996 by Dr. Stephen Bratman. As you see, that is not a long time. This is not, it has not been out long, but yet healthcare professionals are aware of it. This isn't something that is new or that I came up with over the cuff, like off of the cuff. No, this is out there and people are aware that this is a thing because there's such a trend, a health trend that's going on right now. Depending on who you come across on Dr. Google, they'll have you restricting, taking out, not doing that, fasting, and doing all these things, and it's actually doing more harm than good. So make sure that you speak to a professional before doing these things. Don't just start doing all these fad things because they is good now or is trending now. And that's even something that we just spoke about, with International Women's Day. We had our P31, our ladies, we met up tonight and just, we talked about that. So I just thought that was just so awesome because I knew I was going to come back and do this video. But, that just helped me right there, just and help confirm that this was something that I needed to put out there. Okay. So Dr. Stephen Bratman, and sorry about the long, little spill there. But Dr. Bratman, he coined the term orthorexia nervosa based off of a Greek word, which means correct diet. And another thing, so people, they carefully avoid certain foods considered as unwholesome or harmful. They have strict eating rules, whether they're going to eliminate entire food groups. They refuse foods that have artificial ingredients or additives. So, eliminate entire food groups. Maybe I'm not eating fish, I'm not eating chicken, I'm not eating this. So, whatever that, like you have just thrown the baby out with the bathwater and like it's all bad. It resembles anorexia and bulimia due to its obsession with controlling food intake. So like I say, it just resembles it. So individuals that are suffering with orthorexia nervosa, they're spending extreme amounts of time as well as money on their food prep, healthy meals, and meal prepping. They have severe anxiety, eating out due to their personal strict dieting and food restrictions. Their view on others, they have a negative view of their passing judgment on others for not being able to have the self control that they do to eat healthy. So they're passing judgment because others, they feel that they're lacking self control of to not eat unhealthy foods. Now, this here with orthorexia nervosa, it occurs when you're taking healthy eating to such an extreme that it begins to cause issues in your health and your overall well-being. So, hopefully you have enjoyed these little introductions. Like I say, this is not set to diagnose anyone. It's only to put the information out there. And it was for National Eating Disorder Awareness Week, which I have completely missed. It was the last week of February all the way through the 5th of March. And here we are. And I'm trying to speak as fast as I can because now my computer is about to die. So I hope you all have enjoyed this. I would love to hear your comments. Thank you so much for just even sticking with me. I'm still new to this and still just trying to be more comfortable speaking and even being on video. So this is Cynthia Eddings, and I am your MFT for the Soul. Take care.